one name on the screen. If you could just give me your full name and then tell me who you're representing here today, whether you're the property owner, member of the applicant team, a neighboring property owner, or someone else involved with the project or in the community. So I'll start at the top of my screen. I have Zane Rubin. If you could unmute. Okay, while he's working on that, we'll go to Mark. Is it Mark Dekers? Need you to unmute. Need everyone to unmute if possible as they're introducing themselves. I'll go to Danae Wren.
Yes, that's correct. And I am a nearby property owner at 3645 Shaw Avenue.
Great. Welcome. And for everyone's information, the mute button is in the bottom left. And it's like a little audio microphone icon. You just click on that. Typically, that'll unmute you. Let's go back. It looks like Zane Rubin is unmuted.
Yes, Zane Rubin. I'm the property owner.
Okay, great. Welcome. And Mark, are you with us?
Mark Darker's architect for Zane Rubin, the owner.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
I see that we have Kelly Collette as well.
Hi, my official name on all the sign and stuff is Kelly Cirque, but I didn't know how to use that account. But I am at 3650 Shaw Avenue, so I am the direct neighbor and also the former property owner of this property.
Okay, great. Welcome. We have Matt Lascheid here from the planning department. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, thank you, David. Hello, everybody.
Sure. I see that we have someone under Russ Gatorman.
Correct, Russ Gatorman, neighboring property owner on Rosella Avenue.
Okay, great. Welcome. And I will say to Russ and a couple other people here, there we go. If you do intend on providing any testimony here today, then I will ask you at that time to activate your camera while you're giving testimony. If you're just observing, you don't need to activate your camera, but I'd just like to give people a heads up that they may be on camera in the near future, and so that's not a surprise. So thanks, Russ. I see we have Gordon's iPhone. Is Gordon here? Okay. Maybe not. Is Maggie Tapia here? Tapia?
Yeah, I'm Maggie Tapia, and I'm a neighbor at 3652 Shaw Avenue.
Okay. Great. Welcome. All right. I think that we will go ahead and get started on to Mr. Dirkers and Ruben. Are you expecting anyone else to join us here on the applicant owner side?
No, not today.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This is just going to cover the procedure for the hearing, how we're going to be moving forward today, and then we'll begin. So this is the February 26, 2025 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The case before us is case number ZH20250005. That's 3652 Shaw Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing, unless of course you've submitted some sort of testimony in writing or some sort of written correspondence prior to this hearing. If you have, that will also become a part of the record. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, that'll be Mr. Rubin and Mr. Dirkers. You all can orient your presentation however you would like. One of you can speak, both of you can speak. Typically, applicants and owners will give background on the project, what exactly it is that they're proposing, the zoning relief that they're requesting in order to complete the project, and of course, why they believe that that zoning relief is appropriate. After the applicant has been given a chance to present their case, I'll then move to the public. This will be the opportunity for neighboring property owners that are here, if they would like to present any testimony or ask questions. I will then, after all of them have had an opportunity to provide testimony, I'll then move to Mr. Lashide from the planning department, who has produced a staff report in relation to this request. I'll allow him to discuss that and provide any other testimony he would like. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition and then make any closing statements. So after all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly. But to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, again, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you know now that you would like to provide some comments or some testimony during this hearing, I'm going to go ahead and collectively swear all of those people in together. If you're not certain, I can always swear you in later, but if you know you'd like to say something, I'm going to go ahead and have all those people please raise their right hand and take themselves off of mute. I'll need everyone to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right. Who's going to be taking the lead here for us on the applicant side?
Zane, why don't you go ahead and talk first?
Okay. Hello everyone. Yes, my name is Zane. I purchased the property 3652 Shaw Avenue. So I am requesting for a larger house be built on the property. What was currently there is a 20-foot wide house that is not fully functional. There's a lot of damage in the property. Floor joists are actually not connected in the basement. The basement is 4.5 feet tall when you first get down, so it's not functional. And then you have to step down into more of the basement to where all the mechanics are. It's been shored up on both left and right side of the foundation. It's been crumbling, so they did like a 2-foot shoreline. Floor joists aren't connected in there. Everything's kind of on angles. So the house is in needs of repair, and it's not a functional house to invest to renovate it and make it functional to nowadays standards where you can have a fully functional basement and everything. The house I want to build is 26 feet wide instead of the original 20 feet wide. Still same setback in the front, but it is 6 foot wider of the house. That would fit today's standards. Everything would fit in functionality purposes. Versus what's currently there. It's not a very functional piece of property. The garage that I want to add in the rear of the property is obviously there is no garage on the property, so I am asking for a variance to be a garage in the rear of the property holding with a setback of 3 feet. A lot of Hyde Park homes have a detached garage in the rear of the property, and so we're following just normal standards there. In Hyde Park, I am requesting a 6-foot privacy fence just because we would like to put a pool in the rear of the yard. And my neighbor does have a 6-foot privacy fence there currently, and there's actually a tree that's in the middle of our 2 yards actually, and the fence actually goes right into it. But I am requesting for, obviously the 6-foot privacy fence is already currently there on Kelly's side, but I am asking for one on Rosella's side for privacy and for security and safety. Obviously there's a pool in there. I don't want any animals or any young kids to go through a 50-50 4-foot high fence and something could happen. So I am privatizing the yard and lot. So I'm just trying to make it functional where it's livable and it's accessible and it has its own privacy too.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mr. Rubin.
Mhm.
Mr. Dirkers, it's
Uh,
Dirkers, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I would add that the setback on the south property line, it adheres the front, the rear, and the south side setback. This new house conforms to it, so we're only asking for a setback on Rosella Avenue, which obviously houses are not right next to that. There's a distance between our proposed house and the houses across the street of at least 60 feet. And also the back portion of our house, our covered porch and the pool area, actually across the street on Rosella, is empty lots or open lots right now. So I just wanted to stress that we're meeting the setbacks on 3 of the 4 sides for the zoning code. And also, a detached garage is a very common feature in this area of town. And also pools are common. They're not, in every single house, but there's a lot of pools in Hyde Park. So I think that's also a common element that it's seen throughout this area, this neighborhood. The architecture it's clean, it's simple. It's using the highest quality materials as far as cement board siding, which has a very long, well, it's basically got a lifetime guarantee. So also a metal roof, which it could be a metal roof or a shingled roof, but so the maintenance should be minimal. So with respect to the neighbors, hopefully it's a quality house that has good materials and is crafted well, that it's an asset to the neighborhood. As far as the architecture is a little bit more contemporary than the traditional houses that were built in 1890 to, the mid 60s. But there's nothing in the code book that says that you can't have this type of architecture. And if you look throughout this area of town, there's plenty of examples of a lot more contemporary architecture than what this is.
Okay. Just a couple initial questions for you guys. I think Mr. Rubin mentioned that this house is going to be larger than the existing home. Can you talk in terms of dimensions, how much larger this home is than the existing home?
Mark, do you want to take that?
Actually the depth of this house, which is 49 feet, plus the covered porch, which is 15 feet, but the depth of the house of the proposed house, which is 49 feet, is actually very similar, very close to the same depth is what the existing house is. And then the existing house has a covered front porch on it. And by the time you do the existing house with the covered front porch and the existing house compared to ours is probably roughly 4 to 5 feet deeper than what's the existing house is there now. And also,
Okay.
It's my understanding at one time there was a garage, I think I don't know if there was a detached garage in the back too, where we're proposing our detached garage. As far as the width, well, Zane alluded to the width, it was 20 feet and ours is 26.
Correct.
Okay. And the width, is all of the extra width going to be oriented towards the north, towards the Rosella Avenue side? Or how exactly is, where's that increase coming from? How much on each side?
I don't have a dimension of the existing house off the property line, although it looks like we had this surveyed. It looks like where we're proposing our north wall on our property is in the same plane as basically where the existing house is. But the extra 6 feet is their house is 6 feet farther off on the south property line. So I'm guessing that existing house is probably 10, 11 feet off the south property line. And on the north property line, it's pretty much the same as what we're proposing. Obviously, this house was built, I think, in the late 1800s, and I'm sure zoning didn't exist, or obviously the zoning was a lot different than what we have now.
Okay, so to be clear, you don't know what the existing but you don't know what the setbacks are of the existing home. Is that right?
Well, I can scale it. Like I said, we did have this surveyed by John Duffy. And the existing home is 4 feet off the north property line. And we're proposing 310.5. The existing home is 11 feet off the south property line, and we are proposing 5'1.5". Although 5'1.5" does meet the setback requirements in the governing zoning code.
Gotcha. And just so I make sure I heard that right, the south property line you said or the distance to the south property line of the existing home is 11 feet, and you're proposing to reduce it to 5 feet, correct?
5'1".
5
Yes.
foot.
But like I said, that is within the allowable setback. There's a
Gotcha.
5 foot
Okay.
south setback line on that side property.
Got it. Okay. And Ms. Wren, I do see your hand, but as I said at the beginning, you'll have an opportunity in just a minute to provide some comment. Okay, got it. Let's see. In the proposed swimming pool and detached garage, are you requesting any zoning relief in order to construct those? Or are those permitted by right under the zoning code?
It is our understanding they are permitted. The only 2 variances we are asking for is the dimensional variance on the north property side on Rosella Avenue and the 2-foot variance on the fence height, according to Matt, with our meetings, conversations, and working with Matt from the city, Matt Lashad.
Okay, got it. Anything else you want to say right now before we move to public comment and the planning department testimony?
I'm fine.
I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna go slightly out of order and just really quick ask Mr. Lashad, could you do a little additional table setting for us here? I understand what the project is about generally. Do you have those existing setback numbers? And can you just explain from the planning department's perspective what exactly the relief is that they need here? If you don't have the existing numbers, that's fine. I just know there was reference in the staff report to a minimal reduction in that north setback. And it sounds like based on the numbers from Mr. Durkers, he's talking about 2 inches closer to the sidewalk than the existing house. Is that your understanding as well, based on the site plan that was submitted?
That's correct. I can share my screen if you'd like, or if you want to open the staff report, it is shown on page 3 of the staff report. There is a site plan that was provided by the applicant that shows the proposed single-family home, and there's a dashed overlay showing the outline of the existing single-family home. Yeah. So that is helpful to address some of the questions.
So
and the
real quick,
variance,
Matt, sorry, you're saying where my cursor is now, that this dotted line is the existing footprint of the home that's there now, right?
Correct. And that drawing was created by the applicant. They may be able to confirm, but yes, that's my understanding.
Mr. Dirkers, did you create this
Yes, that is
document?
correct. And that is from a surveyed site plan by John Duffy.
Okay, and then the gray area is the proposed new footprint for the home.
For the home, yes.
Okay, got it. All right, so the footprint is larger. I see that. It looks like it might be slightly larger. And it looks like when we're talking about the north side setback here, that it's going to align at this point and extend out where the other house sort of cut back in a little bit. Is that?
Yes.
I know that's not technical language. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, no, you're correct.
okay. All right. Mr. Lashad, real quick again, in order to get zoning permitting for this project, they are asking for two pieces of relief. One is the setback for that north side, which does not comply with the underlying zoning district regulations, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what are the zoning requirements for that north side setback?
So the zoning code has different side yard setback requirements when you are on a corner lot and there are homes behind you where their side property line lines up with your back property line. And then there are additional calculations for unusually narrow lots. We could go through the math. I believe it's outlined in the staff report, but the required.
Yeah, I'm asking. I guess I'm asking what's here, but let me go back down. If they were going to build this home with no zoning relief, what would the setback, this north setback, need to be in order for them to comply with the zoning code without any relief?
10 feet, 7.5 inches.
Okay, got it. And the other piece is a fence here. Is it just the fence that stretches from here to here?
That's correct. And if you scroll down, Mr. Sturkey, on the staff report, I believe it's page 6. The top of page 6 outlines the two elements of the project that require zoning relief. That setback on the north side, because it is not the required 10 feet, 7.5 inches, they would need a variance for the side yard setback there. And they need a variance because that portion of the fence that projects further north, closer to Rosella Avenue than the house does, is in what the zoning code calls a corner rear yard because it is closer to the street than the house is. So they could build the privacy fence, but it would have to be in line with the side wall of the house to be compliant. And there's about 2 feet that go, where the landscaping bed is, there's about 2 feet that go into the side yard closer to Rosella Avenue. So they would need a variance for that. Everything else about the proposed project is compliant, and they would be able to get permits to demolish the existing structure and build a new home without, there would not be any variances required except for those two elements.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much for that, Matt. I'll allow you to talk more about your analysis in a minute. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page as we went into public comment. So the neighboring property owners have been very patient here. Thank you. I'll go ahead and I'll start with Ms. Wren, and then we'll go to Ms. Sirk. So Ms. Wren, anything you want to add?
Hi. It sounds like a great project. I'm excited that we're gonna have some new builds in the neighborhood. I'm still confused where the 6 feet comes from. Those images helped, and maybe I'm just maybe a little bit more visual. This is not my line of work, but are we just doing the extra 6 feet for the fence? Is that the main reason that we're doing it? But I don't know. I'm just a little confused about that. So I just need some clarity on where the 6 feet is coming from, which side, and saying like the north side, I think we're saying is Rosella, is my understanding. So that's just what I wanted some clarity on. I love the fact that there will be a fence. I think it needs to be 6 feet for safety and privacy. I just want clarity on those numbers if possible.
Sure, no problem. I think this might be helpful here. This is just the top portion of the staff report, which I think does a nice summary here. But that required setback, and again, a setback is just the distance between the property line and the structure, in this case, the house itself. So that distance is set by the zoning code for this property based on the width and everything else about the lot size. That distance must be 10 feet, 7.5 inches from the property line to the new house. They are proposing that that distance instead is 3 feet, 10.5 inches. And so the variance, the length of the variance that they're requesting, I think is maybe where this, one of the 6 feet is coming from here. The difference between these two numbers is 6 feet, 9 inches. So that's like the size of the variance, I guess, is what folks are referring to. But what the proposed setback is 3 feet, 10 inches from the property line. And so as we go back down to that, that's sort of demonstrated visually here. So instead of the distance from here to here being 10 feet, 7 inches or whatever, they're proposing that instead it's only 3 feet. So that's the request that they're making. And I believe that one of their arguments is that that's more or less consistent with the existing setback of the home. I don't want to speak for them, but I believe that's what was represented to us today. The other piece of relief that they're asking for is just for the height and opacity of the fence. The standards in the zoning code require that fences in the location that the applicant is proposing only be 4 feet in height and only be 50% opacity. And so they're asking for 6 feet and 100% opacity, essentially can't see through it at all. So that's only for the portion of fencing located right here, near the pool. So those are the figures and the breakdown, and those are the sixes that I'm aware of here. So anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's more clear, and yeah, I'll let everyone else speak. Thank you for presenting the information, everybody.
Thanks for being here, and thank you for your testimony and your questions. Okay, I'm going to move to Ms. Sirk, and then I'll go to Mr. Gatorman.
Sorry, I'm looking to unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep, I can hear you just fine.
Sorry, a little nervous. So
Okay, take your time.
The reason I'm concerned, and I wrote this in a letter, first of all, thank you for providing the clarity. I had no idea that my fence was 6 feet. So when it said standard height in Hyde Park is 4 feet, I assumed he was going to loom over my fence by 2 feet. Now having heard that my fence is 6 feet, I have no problem with the opacity or the height of the fence.
Okay.
My main issues are obviously the survey that was done, the way that the guy came and put the stake into my property. I don't believe it. He was almost in my yard, and my fence it was closer than the property line on the fence. So that's when I was like, it felt maybe not accurate. And then, the fact that the applicant will now be within his right, but be 5 feet within my house and now taller, it is going to provide shadowing on my property and kind of this effect of a looming wall right next to me. If he's already going to be coming over to the south side, my side, to loom and hover over my property, he now wants an additional feet to go out to the other side of the property. So when I was looking through the application for relief and I saw things like, this is in line with what's in the neighborhood, I disagree. I don't see any other house in our neighborhood within 5 feet of another one or looming over another one's property, nor do I see anybody's house going to the sidewalk. I don't see, one of the things on the application was like, if he has this pool and this garage, then he needs adequate yard space. So that's why we have to take the fence out the additional feet. And it's like, well, pick one. Do you want a pool? Do you want a garage, or do you want yard space? Like, I don't understand why we can't fit all of the stuff that he wants to make this house beautiful into the area that it has been zoned for. And you know, when I was the property owner, I respected the zoning code and I thought it was there for a reason. And I thought it was there to make Hyde Park beautiful and charming. And I just want it to be in line with, you know, what makes this neighborhood special.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much for your testimony, and the owner and applicant will get a chance to respond to those concerns as well. And I also did receive the written correspondence from you, Ms. Cirque, and that will be added to the record as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to Mr. Gatorman and then to Ms. Tapia.
Yeah, I guess I had, two questions, and I don't know if it's appropriate to ask questions, but I guess I will anyway.
Go for it.
Setback on the garage to the rear, I understand it's a minimum of 3 feet. Is that to the wall, or is that supposed to include any eaves?
Mr. Lashad, can you answer that?
Yeah, I can answer that. The setback is to the wall. The zoning code has exemptions for eaves and gutters and other building projections, but it's to the wall.
Okay, I thought, you know this better than me, but I thought the exceptions for gutters and stuff was if it was less than 10 or 11 feet wide. Is that not the case?
Let me look.
Okay. You're gonna look that up, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any other questions, Mr. Gatorman?
Yeah, if there are any comments or written objections, anything to that effect, is there a deadline after this meeting where those can be accepted?
The meeting is the deadline.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, feel free though to put those on the record now. I mean, they'll become a part of the record.
Okay.
So I can answer your previous question. So it's zoning code section 1421-07, building projections into yards. It allows cornices, sills, belt courses, eaves, and other ornamental features to extend 2.5 feet into a required side or rear yard. Building code would not allow you to build anything over a property line, and neither would the zoning code, but the ornamental features like that can go closer than 3 feet.
You said that was 1421.07?
Yep.
Okay. And if part of that structure, just the way that my current driveway is, if part of that structure prevents me from accessing my driveway, is there any recourse for me? Maybe that's not a question for you guys.
There's no way that, well, I don't know how it would because it can't go onto your property. So the only way that their construction would impede your access is if your access is currently through their property.
Yeah, understood. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yep. I certainly want to make sure you have the opportunity to say everything you want. I know you said you maybe want to put something in writing, but is there anything, do you have a position in support or opposition of the project, or are you just here to ask questions and neutral?
Mainly just to ask questions.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks, Mr. Gaiman. Appreciate that. All right. Do we still have Maggie Tapia with us?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Floor is yours.
So yeah, you had mentioned that pools are pretty common, Mark. I don't know any neighbors with a pool, so I want to make sure I'm gonna get invited to the pool party. I feel like this whole, like, there's a lot of stuff happening and our neighborhood, like, everybody loves everybody. And so I just want to see something happen where, you know, we can continue to be neighbors, because this is like very stressful for some people. I know I'm not directly involved, but Zane, I'm so happy that you're moving in and you're going to be a neighbor. And Kelly, I know I'm worried about you too, because I know that you're directly there. And Russ, I know you guys are right behind it. So, like, I don't know. Are we going to get the invite to this pool party when this all happens?
Don't worry, there's absolutely an invite, and I will, when he lets me, address everyone's concerns. I've been taking my notes, and I want to address everyone's concerns. So, but absolutely.
Okay, because I just want our community to stay the way it is.
I am a very large proponent of the community strength, and that was something that Cindy told me, that you guys always have like a block party and everything on the street. And that was the biggest thing that I actually loved about it, because you guys had these big, she had a name for it, where you guys like went in and out as a big happy hour, and everyone had like their own little drinks at their own houses. And then I know a couple people, and then that were telling me, because Levin lives down the street over across in Hyde Park, and but the integrity. I'll wait for my turn. I want to address everyone when we're ready. Yeah, I got my notes here.
Got it. Sounds good. Ms. Tapia, I appreciate the sentiment and the message. Did you want to say anything else before we moved on?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, we just went through construction with the Isla right across the street, and it sucks. And I don't think we got the opportunity to have this, and none of us like it. It's horrible. So I think we all have a little bit of post-traumatic stress from going through 2 years of major construction for something that did not go through any of this process because of COVID and whatever happens politically and that kind of thing. So I feel a lot of this is just, bad feelings from the last construction we just went through. So I feel like that's why a lot of us are here, just because, you hear about, we all got the thing in the mail about something happening again. And so that's why we're here. And I think everybody's concerned. And I heard some good information, some, stuff that I had no idea that was happening. So I appreciate everybody being here and contributing, because that's what our neighborhood is all about.
All right. Well, that's well said. I appreciate you all being here as well, and I'm glad we've all been able to take part in this process. As we move forward, I'm going to give Matt an opportunity to discuss his staff report if he would like, and any topics he thinks is important to the discussion. And then we'll go back to the applicant and Mr. Rubin to respond to any of the public comment.
Sure.
Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Sturkey. So as we outlined a little bit earlier, there's two pieces of relief here that would be required for the city to be able to approve a building permit for this house. The one is the variance along the north side setback. Because it's on a corner lot, there is an increased side yard setback. And then because the lot is unusually narrow, there are some provisions that allow you to build a little bit closer to the property line, but the required setback here is 10 feet, 7.5 inches. And the proposed setback is 3 feet, 10.5 inches. So they would need a variance of 6 feet, 9 inches. I think it would probably be best to walk through that first. The property is zoned, so these setbacks are set by zoning code section 1403-07, because the property is zoned SF6. There's a single family zoning district, and it's intended for parcels that are at least 6,000 square feet and also at least 50 feet wide. An important consideration here is that this property is unnecessarily narrow. I think, folks that are familiar with the neighborhood, the building that was there was very narrow. The whole lot itself, I know, is non-conforming with that requirement. It's something about 35 feet wide instead of the required 50. So it's understandable that the setbacks that are in place, anticipating a lot to be 50 feet wide, do not function well for an existing non-conforming lot that's only about 35 feet wide. So that is an unusual hardship that's outside the applicant's control. In the design of their building, looking at the general size of the footprint, the massing, the home is similar in footprint and in size to other homes on the street. It's 2.5 stories tall. Look at the dimensions, 45 by 26. I went on KGIS, our online map, and looked at other homes in the neighborhood, and the size of this home is comparable, or if anything, it's smaller than some of the other homes that have been there for 100 or more years. So I think it's reasonable that the applicant would request a home of comparable size to their neighbors. And zoning relief is required because the lot itself is unusually narrow and does not comply with the expected lot width in the SF6 district. So, understanding that some zoning relief may be necessary just because of that unusual circumstance, some things that we look at are, can we minimize adverse impacts on neighboring properties? And the applicant has met the required side yard setback on the south side. So, no zoning relief is required for the building's proximity to the parcel to the south. The only zoning relief that's required for the house is its proximity to Rosella Avenue to the north, which, in my opinion, is preferable because it is not closer to an existing home. It's closer to the right of way, and I believe the applicant said it's something about 60 or more feet from another home. So that helps limit adverse impacts on adjacent property owners.
Matt,
The other piece of relief.
one question on that point. I'm sorry to interrupt. What is the setback limit for the south property line? I know that the proposal is 5 feet 1 inch setback on the south. What is the limit? Do you know?
We worked with the applicant, and the 5 foot 1.5 inches is the limit, so they are compliant.
Okay, so they couldn't go any closer. Okay, got it.
Correct.
Thanks.
Yep. And the other piece of relief that's requested here is a 6 foot privacy fence. You can have a 6 foot privacy fence in the backyard, and the building code actually requires that you have a fence around your pool if you're choosing to install a pool. The reason that relief is required here is because it extends approximately 2 feet closer to the sidewalk than it's allowed to. And again, I feel that that is because of the unusually narrow nature of the lot, and the applicant is seeking to have an enclosed private rear yard, which is similar in size to other properties on the block. So there's an unusual hardship in the lot being so narrow, and they're seeking to have an enclosed backyard that's similar to others. The proposed privacy fence is still set back. I believe it's 2 feet from the property line and a little bit more than that to the actual sidewalk. So it's not going to be right up against the sidewalk where somebody walking along the sidewalk would potentially have it, touching them as they're along the sidewalk. And it's not right against the back property line, so I don't know that it would impact adjacent property owners in that way. So given those points, regarding the variance to allow the home to be closer to Rosella Avenue, given the unusually narrow parcel, staff recommends approval of the variance to construct a home that is similar in size to other homes in the area, and staff recommends approval of the requested fence variance in the back as well.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate your testimony and the work on the staff report. Gonna turn it back over to the applicant and owner here. Anything you'd like to say in response to public comment, any of my questions, or to Matt's staff report summary?
Yes, I kind of wanted to address everyone's concerns. I think that's probably the first thing to do. Russ, do you live behind the property on Rosella? What is your address?
Yeah, it's correct. 2817.
Okay. And I think where Russ is kind of coming into play here. And I want to let you guys know I'm not an enemy here. Like, I'm just trying to build a new home and everything. So I want that first just to be known. I know that stake is on in your driveway. So I am not just a homeowner that's purchasing a home and hiring some builder. I am very aware in certain situations. So there's actually the stake line it's probably about 6 inches, maybe a little more, 10 inches or so onto his driveway. And that is where the stake line is. So obviously in just one time of, things changing over the years and everything, either a driveway got bigger or whatever, however it happened. So I'm definitely mindful. And I think your concern was probably that, hey, in theory, now you're only going to be 2 foot 4 inches from my driveway now. So that is something that I will absolutely review. And if, I don't want my gutter the eaves going into your driveway or anything like that. So I am very mindful in where that stake is at in your driveway. And then obviously I will offer to repair that portion of that driveway right there when we do actual construction and everything. So I do see that concern. Maggie, what was your address? I know you said in the very beginning, but I know everyone might have been a little nervous in the beginning. What's your address?
3642.
3642.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
2 houses up from you. on the
Okay,
other side
gotcha.
of Kelly.
Okay. So yeah, I understand that whole Isla apartments took absolute forever, and that was a very big thing and everything. Um I mean the builder that I'm going to use, I have two of them, and I am also in the industry. I don't build myself, but we just do manufacture custom closets. So I am very aware of the building industry and how things run and how things take long, because I'm always the last one to go into someone's home. So I know when I first ran into Kelly and she was like, well, I don't know if I can deal with, this, they got started like 8 a.m., and so, because I don't want to deal with the noise. So I am fully aware of everyone's concerns. The efficiency of this house, I mean, I'm going to try to build this thing absolutely as fast as I can. It is a simple house, and Mark can even attest to that. It's simple, rectangular. There is nothing crazy build where this thing's going to take a year and a half or anything. A simple builder, there's no reason, unless some crazy delay if something happens or something happens in the world, but there's really no reason a builder should not be able to build this house in 8 to 9 months. And that's from uh, dig to completion. And I'm probably even going to push a little harder. But so that's that. And I want there's still going to be a community. I mean, obviously, I had a Halloween party. I did tell Sydney, told Jeff Levine, I guess there's a group chat. I want everyone to text out and like, hey, please stop by and introduce themselves. So that was kind of like my first little thing. But no, I am a very big proponent of uh, mutual, just a friendly neighborhood. Um, and Kelly. I know the first day we met, that probably was not the best day to meet. So I apologize. There was a lot thrown on you that day. But I do want you to know that, yeah, I'm not an enemy. I'm not trying to build anything. I know the house is a little bit more contemporary than you like. And I understand that a lot of homes are being built more contemporary um, in the neighborhood. So um, I'm not trying to make anything crazy. It is a certain style, but I'm also not here to upset anybody, or I'm trying to be as negotiable as possible with your stake in your front yard. I think it kind of comes to the same thing like with Russ, for example. I think just things over the years have just kind of changed, um, or a fence was built, or your concrete sidewalk on the side might have been built, didn't get checked with zoning. I don't really know. I mean, things have changed for over the years. So um, I would assume that everything is marked correctly. I would not assume that that is incorrect by any means. So I know that I think your biggest concern is that where you see the home is currently now, to then you see I'm sorry, what was my number? 5 foot 6.5. Got too many screens up here. 5 foot 1.5. Yes, 5 foot 1.5. So I know that you see the current home is, I think, I don't know the exact number of what that is. So I think you're seeing that, and it's gonna be this big monstrosity or something that's gonna come closer to your house. There is still gonna be 5.5 feet from that cement sidewalk that is there. And same thing. I'm being mindful. I'm not trying to encroach on anybody. I'm not trying to loom. I know like we have the tree that goes in between our fence line, for example. And I'm here to work with you and, do whatever I can. I'm not the enemy. So I want to preserve everything. And, if we need to work something out, I have no problem. If the tree does run both of our property lines. So I don't know where that the tree is mine or how it is in that sense, but it is your tree. Okay. So that's fine. And, it's like, so I have no problem, working around the tree, whatever we have to do. I'm not here to, I'm here to figure things out. So,
Kelly, I'll give you a chance to speak here in just a minute, but I wanted to ask Matt, or maybe even Mr. Dirkers knows, but Matt, when we're relying on surveys from applicants, are there additional checks in place within the building department or zoning department to ensure that surveys and measurements coming from those and setbacks are accurate?
I do know that the building department sometimes will require a survey during construction, especially where it's close to the property line like this. But to answer your question, the city of Cincinnati does not employ surveyors. The onus is on the applicant, but generally
Okay.
a survey is seen as accurate.
Okay.
We trust, I
So
mean, it's stamped by a licensed professional. We
licensed
trust them.
surveyor.
Yeah.
Okay. So if someone wanted to contest the accuracy of a survey that was submitted, they would need to employ their own surveyor, licensed surveyor that could provide something that was contradictory or supported. Okay.
That's
got
correct,
it.
yes.
I just wanted to make that clear. Kelly, did you want to add something quickly here? If so, you can unmute.
Thank you. The only thing I wanted to add is it is my tree. So the first word you ever said to me weren't hi, hello, I'm your new neighbor. It was, we need to talk about that tree. And off the bat, I just felt very much like you were not there to work with me and you weren't there to make friends or be part of the community because you approached me in such an aggressive manner. And I said, we were talking about the house and I, gave my reservations about a modern home, not my business, what you build, not my personal preference, but whatever. And you were like, yeah, I'm going to come, within 5 feet of your house. And I was like, wow, you want to be so close. And you're like, we'll see what the zoning board has to say. And you were really generally, no offense, kind of shitty to me. And you've left blood in your windows that every morning when I wake up and I open my blinds, there's fake Halloween blood and construction tape from your Halloween party. It's almost March. I just feel like that's a very aggressive thing to do. The gutter has fallen off the house. It's halfway in your yard, halfway in my yard. There's water pooling into our yards because your gutter is not being taken care of. So I hope you are a good neighbor and I hope that you want to make this right because the way that you approach this was very intimidating for a woman who lives by herself. And that's all I want to say.
Thanks, Kelly. Ms. Rubin, obviously, I give you a chance to respond to that, but I wanted to ask an additional question. I think it was actually another point that Kelly made, and as we were talking about the requirements here for the fence, it sounds like this fence would be permitted by right at 6 feet and 100% opacity if it was brought in line with the north facade of the home. So what is the hardship to bring that into compliance with the zoning code and bring that fence further from the property line? Is it just simply a preference for more yard? And Mr. Dirkers, you can address that too if you'd like. I'm going back to some of the legal standards, some hardship or something about the property again that makes this unreasonable to comply with the standards. As I look at the fence regulations, it sounds like you can have a 6-foot fence with 100% opacity. It just needs to be a little bit further away from the sidewalk. So why can't that be done?
The reason we did it is we were trying to introduce the landscaping bed that's up against that fence in order to create, hoping that that landscaping goes above the fence line and to create a little bit more of a buffer, and also just to soften up the hard surfaces that are around the pool.
Okay.
And also, I guess, I don't know if this is the time, but to answer your question too about the surveyed site plan, the city of Cincinnati does require a surveyed site plan in order to get zoning approval and building permit approval. And also the builder will hire that surveyor to stake out the house to ensure that the house is placed in the with the correct dimensions of the site plan. Some communities, I know the city of Montgomery will make the applicant or the owner do an as-built drawing to make sure that in Montgomery it's more of the drainage issues, but they can require it. I've never run into it with the city of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Stearns. Appreciate it.
And also, I'd like to a couple things I'd like to address. I was just with Kelly. We are 5 feet off your property. It looks like I don't have a dimension to where your house is from the property line, but there's probably between 8 and 10 feet between our house and your house. So it's not just the 5 feet. I don't think your house is right on the property line. And also the height of the house, the allowable height of a house in this zoning district is 35 feet. So we've met that requirement. And in actuality, that 35 feet is at the midpoint of a roof from the high point to the low point. And we are actually at 29 feet. So we actually could be 6 feet higher than what we are actually proposing. And also, so the gutter height on the Rosella side is like 20 feet, and the height of the peak on the South Kelly side is 34 feet. So we're actually underneath the height requirements, even at the peak, not even at the midpoint. So we could actually be 6 feet higher. And then also just, I did a little quick research. There is at least 4 pools on Shaw across the street from Zane's property at 3619, 3611, 3567, and 3665, just to name a few. So there are some, some pools in the neighborhood. Like I said, it's not every single person, or home, but there are examples of pools scattered throughout this neighborhood.
Let's move into any closing remarks, and Mr. Rubin, you're again welcome to respond to anything that's been said, but let's move into some closing remarks and adjourn here.
Okay. Well, I think I need to start obviously with an apology. Then that definitely goes to Kelly first, obviously. So I do apologize that that came off rude when we first met. Did not at all intend, that was not the intent by any means. So if I did not say hello or you're my neighbor or anything, I apologize. That could have just been nerves or anything, and just the way it came off. That's not. If you ask any of my friends, and Mark has known me also for quite some time, I am a good person. So I want to first express my apologies that I did not introduce myself and all that stuff. From me recounting it, I thought I did. Me still having the Halloween decorations up and the gutter that's in the yard that is still in the yard. That is my fault. I will take full responsibility for that. I only go over the house, check the mail here and there and everything. So I need to go and take the decorations down. That's up in the that's underneath the thing, underneath the porch. And I will clean off the windows and everything, so you don't have to wake up to that. But I just want to let you know that, as I said, I'm not an enemy, and I do apologize that our first meeting was not the best or anything. So I want you to hopefully try to accept an apology from me. I am here to work things out. But my closing remarks for it is, I just want you guys to know that I am mindful in things that have happened as I've been, watching this property kind of do. So like, as I said, with Russ and the stake in the driveway, So if I have to modify some things to account for that and move the garage a little bit over to obviously make sure that the eave or anything like that, the eave is going the opposite way into the street. Just so we're not up on the yard or anything, I'm here to review and look and, do a double once over with everyone. And, even if people need to come out and we can meet out there and I can go over everything. So I'm not here to, make any enemies. So I hope that my apology will at least be an initial start to moving forward with this.
I think we will leave it at that then. I want to thank everyone for their time and their testimony here today. I can see that you all feel very strongly about your street and about your community. And so that always makes my job easier to hear from everyone and understand, how this impacts you on the street level. So I want to thank everyone again for their time and their testimony here today. I'm going to take some time before making an official decision on this. I want to review all of the evidence and all the testimony. I actually lived on Shaw about 15 years ago for a few years. And so I'm sensitive to the changes that have happened there. When I drive down it now, I don't really totally recognize it because it's changed so much. So I am sensitive to that. And I think I will do a site visit for this particular application and just make sure that I understand how all of this looks from the street. When I do render a decision, I'll put that in writing. That'll serve as the official decision for this hearing. As soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. If it's approved, the applicant and the owner Matt Lashad from the planning department can approve the zoning, and you all can take the next steps. I will add, though, that regardless of my decision, whether it's approved or denied, there is an opportunity for appeal. So if this is approved, neighboring property owners can appeal that decision to a zoning board of appeals. And if it is denied, I think Mr. Dirkers is familiar with this, but if it is denied, then it can also be appealed to the zoning board of appeals as well to challenge my decision. I think that's everything. Is there any questions about the process at all or any of the next steps here? Okay. The last thing I'll say is that I cannot take in any new evidence or testimony. So what often happens during these hearings is someone will think of something they want to say or send a picture to me that they want me to look at. I can't take in any new evidence or testimony after this hearing is closed. I can answer questions about procedure, process, those sort of things, appeals, whatever, but I can't take in any new testimony. So if you send me something, I'll ignore it. I may acknowledge it that I received it, but I will not be considering it when I'm making my actual determination on this particular application. Okay, that was a lot. Any questions before we leave? Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate